What would you do if you were given 6 months of free time to figure out the meaning behind your life? By a show of hands, how many of you would procrastinate the first 5 months and hope for the best in month 6? Okay, you can put your hands down. By a show of hands, how many of you would get started right away? Okay. What if I told you that I would be neither? Because in 2020, I was granted 6 months of free time to figure out what the heck I wanted to do with my life. But it definitely didn't start out that way. My story begins in March of 2020, a time you might be familiar with, maybe sick and tired of hearing about, no pun intended, but I was working from home for the second day ever when I was called into a Zoom room with my boss, HR, and the VP of the entire company. Within less than 10 minutes, I was closing my laptop shut because I had just been informed that I was being furloughed for the next month, effective immediately. I remember sitting there and the tears poured down my face. I had just lost my first adulting job and was devastated. If you've ever lost your job unexpectedly, maybe you can relate to some of the questions that began to flood my mind. Questions like, how am I going to live without a paycheck? Or what do I do now? Or how do I fill my time today to get me through to tomorrow? My initial reaction was that I needed to block out how scary and uncertain the world was. I didn't dare want to face what was happening around me, let alone the identity loss that was happening within me. So I thought it would be best to numb out my reality, to switch into this autopilot mode in order to protect me and my mental health. This consisted of some day-to-day activities like scrolling on my phone for hours on end, watching show after show on TV, and even exercising for an excessive amount of time. At several different points, I would look around me and see 3 screens at once. There would be something I Googled on my laptop, social media on my phone, and Netflix on the TV as background noise. And I lived this day over and over again for that entire month until finally the end of my furlough was one day away. On the evening before I was supposed to return back to work, I received an email from HR telling me my furlough was being extended, and not just another month this time, not 2 months either, but 3 more months. My new return to work date was to be mid-July. And it was at this moment I knew I can't keep living this way. So at this moment, I knew I probably needed to break up with my phone. And don't get me wrong, a month-long unplanned vacation from adulting sounds nice. It sounds fantastic, actually, but I wasn't relaxed. I had no clarity as to what I was doing with my life, and I wasn't moving forward in any aspect of it either. In my defense, I was told 1 month. Yet here I am receiving the news that I am now to remain home for what would be a total of 4 months. The point I'm making is what happens next. What happens when you're told you have 3 more months of free time to go live it up, when living wasn't very fun to do in that prior month? You see, being unemployed left me with a lot of time on my hands, and I didn't exactly know how to fill it, but I did start with asking myself some new questions. Now it was, how do I fill my time so that it is more forward-thinking instead of mind-numbing? How do I switch out of this autopilot mode and back into the manual drive of my own life? And how was I distracting myself with tactics that weren't actually helping me or my mental health? This led me to begin reading my roommate's self-help book, You Are a Badass, listening to Brene Brown's Unlocking Us podcast that a friend had recommended to me, and distancing myself from the screens that previously consumed me. Both the book and the podcast kept reinforcing the same message to my very vulnerable mind. It was as though someone's grabbed me by the shoulders and shaking me awake into my life, telling me to get up and do something with this time. Breaking up with my phone helped me to reconnect back with myself and realize that I want to live my life on my own terms and by my own rules and not based on what society or social media or my friends and family were telling me, and more importantly, not comparing my journey, my experiences, my situation to anyone else's. It was time for me to take matters into my own hands. It was time for me to explore what I wanted to create for myself. It was time for me to begin my personal growth journey that first led me to become a personal trainer and then a life and nutrition coach. Now I'm creating structure to my day and meaning behind every minute that passed. I'm working towards bettering myself and my life. My unemployment lasted for a total of 6 months that year when I sought out a new job opportunity. But I have not lived on autopilot mode since receiving that email from HR on what was supposed to be my last day of furlough in April of 2020. So from that point on, I decided I want to live in the present and work towards a future that I am proud of and have released the pressure I originally felt by my friends, family, social media, and society to live my life the way that they're telling me that I should. From that point on, I decided I want to be in control of my life and what's happening in it, and I no longer want to numb out my reality with the help of my phone. If you were to take a step back and look at your life, what might be some of the ways you are choosing to numb out your reality? Do you disassociate as you move from one task to the next, living on autopilot Monday through Friday, only so you can go live it up Friday through Sunday? That maybe you aren't given a designated 3 or even 6 months straight of adulting freedom, but you are given every weekend where you can either choose to escape the life you have with mindlessly scrolling your phone or going out to the bars, or build the life you want to live. That instead of staying in this hypnotic state, you are choosing to break the cycle of how you are showing up to how you want to be showing up. That for every minute of screen time that increases is a minute of a missed opportunity to build a life of your dreams, yet you would rather live vicariously through a stranger on your phone than live your life in this reality, in this present moment. This is why I broke up with my phone, and you should too. And don't tell me there's not enough time in the day to build a life of your dreams, because according to Nat Shine et al., the average adult spends 7.5 hours in front of a screen per day for leisure. Not only does this lead to a propensity of health concerns like cardiovascular dysfunction, obesity, negative thought patterns, stress, anxiety, ADHD, depression, and sleep disorders, but it also leads to a lower satisfaction in your life. It leads to a lower sense of fulfillment, and it leads to a decline in your overall performance. We are addicted to our distractions, but they're also unavoidable. So then how do we begin the breakup process? How do we detach ourselves from over-consuming other people's lives and under-living our own? Well, we do so in 3 steps. Step 1, we build your awareness. Identify what your destructive or distracting behavior is. What is your go-to coping mechanism for a rough day? Is it mindlessly scrolling your phone, going out to the bars, watching show after show on TV, or eating your comfort foods? Once you recognize how you choose to self-soothe, then we can move to step 2, adopt a new habit. When it comes to building habits, you need to create a barrier to the old one and a replacement for it. That replacement should be just as satisfying, but more nourishing to your overall well-being. For example, my distraction is my phone. So every night we break up. My phone goes into the kitchen, I go into my bedroom, and we don't get back together until after my morning routine is complete the next day. By charging my phone in a different room, I'm creating this barrier, so it is no longer within arm's reach, and I'm not obsessively checking it until the second my eyes close, and then again the moment they are open, and the peace that I feel. The decrease in stress and anxiety as I go to bed each night and wake up each morning is what encourages me to continue this practice, which brings me to step 3. Know your why. Why should you even bother? Why is it important for you to develop a healthier coping mechanism? Why should you want to get out of autopilot mode? It's because when you are just existing in your life instead of living in it, you are limiting yourself from reaching your full potential. So you succumb to life circumstances when you could be taking advantage of the endless opportunities that exist in our world today, and now instead of letting life control you, you get to become in control of your life. It's why I broke up with my phone, and you should too, because when you decide to switch out of autopilot mode and into the manual drive of your own life, you allow yourself to create a life you actually want to live in and be proud of. It's why I broke up with my phone, and you should too, because when you develop the practice of being present and taking action accordingly, life becomes a lot more exciting and enjoyable. It's why I broke up with my phone, and you should too, but it starts with you breaking up with your distracting behaviors, breaking up with the habits that aren't serving you to your highest ability. So the next time you reach for your phone, your computer, the TV remote, your favorite food, that alcoholic beverage, I want you to pause and ask yourself, what can I be doing instead? What part of my life am I not happy with, and how can I begin to change that aspect? Then make a plan and get to work. Stop trying to escape and look at what you can create instead. Maybe you aren't given 6 months of free time to figure out the meaning behind your life, but you are given right now. It's up to you as to how you use your free time. It's up to you to decide to switch out of autopilot mode and into manual drive. It's up to you to break up with the habits that aren't helping you and establish a relationship with the you that is here right now and the future version of you that you are striving to be. It's why I broke up with my phone, and you should too. Let's go.